On a day where pride and bragging rights are at stake, Sri Lanka takes on Maldives in this AFC Asian Cup 2023 qualifiers in this third round encounter here at the Namangan Stadium, with a lot at stake between the two South Asian rivals, divided by the Indian Ocean but united by football. Maldives and Sri Lanka have big history when it comes to the game of football. Maldives will play in their traditional all red. Just looking back at how the two teams have fared in the first two games against Uzbekistan and Thailand. Against Thailand, Maldives lost 3-0, and in the last game against Uzbekistan they lost 4-0. While for Sri Lanka, in their opening game, an impressive 3-0 defeat, given the fact that Uzbekistan are much more higher in the ranks, the FIFA rankings. And in their last game against Thailand, Sri Lanka did give a scare to Thailand, but eventually lost 2-0. The second goal coming in deep into injury time in the last minute, 90 plus 5th minute. Until then, Sri Lanka were quite a bit in contention, especially in the last few minutes. They gave a bit of a scare to Thailand. Apologies for the delay in the feed, as we are experiencing a technical failure. Sri Lanka will be without their inspirational skipper, their custodian Sujan Pereira, who is suspended for this match after he got 2 yellow cards in the first 2 games. Unfortunate for Sri Lanka, the 2 yellow cards coming in against Uzbekistan and Thailand. Sri Lanka and Maldives are no strangers to each other, and Sri Lanka haven't won against Thailand in 10 games. They've lost 6 and drawn 4. As both teams are about to come onto the field, led by the referee for today, Ali Reda from Lebanon, and his assistants Hassan Kanzo and Hamza Sadeh from Jordan, and the fourth official will be Mahmoud Arafa, again from Jordan. The two teams are coming onto the field in this Group C encounter, the penultimate game in Group C between Sri Lanka and Maldives. Sri Lanka in their all yellow and Maldives in their traditional red. Some big names in the lineup for Maldives, but none bigger than Ali Ashfaq, who is not here. And Sri Lanka will definitely, even before the kickoff, will breathe a sigh of relief. As I'm joined in the commentary box by Rahul Madhurava. Rahul, very good afternoon to you, as we have the national anthem of Maldives.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. That was the two national anthems done and dusted. An exciting game of football ahead of us, as now said. These two teams last clashing in the Four Nation Prime Minister Trophy late last year. As we take a look at the starting 11 for Maldives, led by skipper Akram Abdul, Samu Ali, Numan Ahmed, Hussein Sifau, Asaim Ibrahim, Hamza Mohammed, Aisham Hassan, Ibrahim Hussein, Naiz Hassan, Muhammad Faisal and Hussein Nihan. The starting 11 for Maldives. As we take a look at the Sri Lankan starting 11, Harsha Fernando, Chalna Chamira, captain of the day, Chaita Ratnayaka, Muhammad Aqib, Dylan De Silva, Asiku Rahman, J. Sutasan, Maridas Nidarshan, Chamod Dilshan, Chalna Chamira, and coming in for Sujan Pereira, Kavish Fernando, and Muhammad Fazal making up the starting 11. Interesting clash, as I said, the two teams last clashing in the Four Nations Trophy, and what a game that was. After 60 minutes, Maldives leading Sri Lanka 4-0, and very few people thought that Sri Lanka had any chance in the last 30 minutes, but 4 goals out of nowhere and the game ending 4-4. And Maldives, it has to be said, has been on a downward streak ever since that game, and they will be looking for revenge in this next 90 minutes. But Maldives' run of results in the two qualifying games so far have been somewhat worse than Sri Lanka's. Maldives initially losing to Thailand 3-0, where Sri Lanka managed a respectable 2-0 defeat, and in the last game Maldives suffering a 4-0 defeat to Uzbekistan, whereas Sri Lanka losing 3-0 in their opening game to the hosts. But it all comes down to the next 90 minutes. Maldives in their all red, Sri Lanka in their away white. And what big shoes Kavish Fernando will have to fill. Sujan Pereira has been the hero for Sri Lanka in both the last two games, making numerous great saves to keep Sri Lanka to a respectable defeat in terms of the scoreline. And today it will come down to Kavish Fernando to maybe do the same as Maldives kick us off here in Namangan in the third and final qualifying game in this third round AFC Asian Cup qualifiers. Both teams basically playing for third place now. Mainly for that pride of not finishing last, as Maldives.
Yes, indeed, Rahul. Both the earlier games are done and dusted. Those results doesn't matter. It's what happens in this 90 minutes is what matters. And Sri Lanka are coming into this game with a bit of momentum, considering how they've fared against the higher ranked Uzbekistanis and the Thailand team. Thailand, beg your pardon, Maldives attacking from left to right on a screen. Sri Lanka pushing forward, almost an interception. Sri Lanka did have made 3 substitutions, with their first one including their skipper Sujan Pereira, who is suspended for this match, replaced by the ever impressive 𝐀𝐅𝐂 Fernando, who was quite brilliant for Blue Star in their championship run towards the Super League.
Absolutely, and no better chance to show the whole of Sri Lanka and anyone else watching what he's made of, filling in those big shoes of Sujan Pereira. And as you're saying, Sri Lanka in their last game against Thailand, what they did better compared to the first game was they had more attacking chances, and that is something they will have to look for more of in this game as well. On paper, this being their easiest game of the 3, Maldives ranking in 156 compared to Sri Lanka's 205.
Sri Lanka did make 2 substitutions early on, 2 replacements actually, with Mohammad Shifan and Mohammad Shifan and Maridas Nidarshan making their way, but last minute change sees Shifan being replaced by Fazal, the ever experienced playmaker. Don't know whether Shifan suffered an injury during the warm-ups, but either way, it's a good replacement to have, isn't it, Rahul?
Absolutely, the experience and skill that Mohammad Fazal brings into any team is very vital, and that could prove a huge boost for the Sri Lankan lineup. And it seems to be he's the one leading the line up front. He has done that on many occasions for club and country. It seems that 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 playing a more deeper role this time out compared to the last 2 games, as Maldives trying to set up a quick game, but now 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 trying to launch a counter attack, but intervention sees the ball out for a Sri Lankan throw-in.
Yes, indeed, Fazal is someone who can unlock any defense with his creativity, as we see 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 having a heavily strapped neck and back. Let's hope he will be good to continue. There's a long throw-in, cleared away partially.
Rightly said now, because Mohammad Fazal, as you see, Hassan Rumi, the interim coach for this tournament, he'll be happy with some of the results despite not being able to pick up any victories. They kept the scoreline to some respectable defeats, and they defended very well. And when you look at some of Sri Lanka's previous games, that was something they had drastically improved in this tournament, and that is something that he can be proud of.
And something they could build upon as well, because they've had Sri Lanka have a limited amount of preparation time, but they went to the Aspire Academy in Qatar for a week and a half or so training, where they had the best facilities and the best training that one could get, especially with the technical aspect.
Absolutely, a solid platform to build on going forward for football in Sri Lanka. So you see the Maldivian head coach as well, Francesco Marrero, the Italian. Yes.
We did have a wonderful interaction with him as well, didn't we, Rahul, when Maldives played in the Four Nations tournament? That was Morero's first tournament. They did play really well.
Absolutely. It was that Sri Lankan game that kind of caused a slight downfall for them, as 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓫 cross ball but unable to get to it in time. A little bit too heavy the pass, but positive signs for Sri Lanka early on, having a good bit of possession in the opening 5 minutes in the opposition half. That is good to see. Maldives now. And a key thing to mention, as you said earlier now, the key player for Maldives who has not been chosen for the 3-game squad for Maldives, Ali Ashfaq, the record goal scorer for the Maldives national team. That will be a huge reprieve, and maybe that's why you had seen Maldives not being too competitive in the previous 2 games, but Sri Lanka defense will be the happier of the two. And 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 will have a slightly easier go of things maybe.
Yes, indeed, Rahul. I did mention that, and I think for the Sri Lankans, the stat is in 4 or 5 games that Ali Ashfaq has played against Sri Lanka, he has scored 8 or 9 goals, and he did score 1 goal in that 4-4 draw as well. So every time he has come on or played against Sri Lanka, he has scored, and even in the win against the 1-0 win for Maldives in the SAF game, he was a scorer. But here is the long throw-in that will come from Harsha Fernando, the Rory Delapse as they call it.
Unable to do much with it, and now Maldives winning the ball back will look to try and launch an attack of their own. But Sri Lanka very positive attacking wise here in the early stages. As Maldives taking their time trying to get this attack right. Mohammad Fazal still playing that lone man up front.
Maldives do have 2 of the scorers in their 4-4 draw against Sri Lanka in this squad, including their skipper Abdul Akram Ghani and Ibrahim Mahudi. And one vital man would be this man on your screen, Kavish Fernando. Huge boots to fill. Both Sujan and Kavish come from the same town, 𝓠𝓾𝓪𝓵. They do train together as well.
Then you just know that Sujan Perera would have given him a lot of advice before the start of this game. But just like Sri Lanka will be relieved with the lack of Ali Ashfaq, you could say the same for Maldives with Sujan Perera not being in goal, especially after watching the previous 2 games Sri Lanka played. As now Sri Lanka cross into the box, but a crucial block by the skipper sees Mohammad Aqib's cross go out for a corner, and a good chance for Sri Lanka early stages, a corner set piece opportunity.
Good bit of play from Fazal, releasing Aqib on the right. Here's another good delivery from Fazal. Rebound wide from Asikur Rahman, but good bit of play. Even when he did achieve that corner, Aqib looked up to see where Dylan was. He was going for the cutback, just that the skipper for Maldives, Ghani, came in between the pass and the ball.
The brunt of the attacking chances early in the first 10 minutes now going to Sri Lanka, as now Maldives late challenge just clipped the back of his legs. Did Dylan De Silva, and free kick taken quickly for Maldives. But as I was saying, Sri Lanka have been very good attacking wise so far in the first 10 minutes, but they need to keep They need to make sure that they keep the pressure on. They can't let Maldives grow into it. It's Maldives now playing their short pass game, trying to slowly get towards the Sri Lankan box. Taking their time, keeping hold of possession.
Sri Lanka looking to sit back and press. But here's a good opportunity. Appeals for a handball, and Maldives. It was a good bit of play, and fortunately for them, the referee has his flag up for offside. That was Ibrahim Mahmoudi sticking with nice Hassan. Nice back flick from nice Hassan to Mahmoudi. It was Hassan who was offside.
That is something Sri Lanka need to be careful of. Their defense kind of opened up and allowed Maldives inside the box to get into those dangerous areas without any pressure. It is a mistake they can't afford to make when they are playing so well up front. They need to do the same at the back, especially with Sujan Pereira not in goal, as 𝓕𝓲𝓵𝓲𝓲𝓮𝓻 releasing 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵. Cross into the box.
Once again, we do apologize for the lack of footage, as we are experiencing some technical issues, especially in connectivity, that the feed we are getting from Uzbekistan.
So Maldives breaking through for a chance on their own, going on his own, and in the end challenged fairly, but the clearance not done well, and now Maldives still in attack with the ball. Crucial interception, but once again unable to keep it, and now Maldives still on the attack. Still the pressure heavily on the Sri Lankan defense. 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 goes sliding in and clears at the expense of a corner.
Excellent play from both sides, and especially from Dylan, recognizing that pass, that threat would come from that end, and coming in between that pass. There you go. Else Hussein Sifau was clean on goal, either to cross or even take a shot at goal. They take it short, Maldives. A high looping ball towards the far post. It has gone out. Goal kick.
Not sure if that was a shot or a long ball, but either way Sri Lanka will be hoping for more of those all day. The replay, defensive mix up earlier. Sri Lanka didn't clear their lines when they should have, and that gave Maldives the chance to try and capitalize, but in the end out for a goal kick. And Kavish look to set it downfield.
That's what happens when you have a very tight and compact defense, isn't it, Rahul? You force the other side to make something different, and on that occasion almost working for Maldives. And even against Thailand, Sri Lanka did have some difficulty with Thailand putting together their short passes, but somehow Sri Lanka, with the tight compact defense, held on and even threatened in the last few minutes at the Thailand goal.
Absolutely, and that was the main thing, because that late third goal for Thailand coming with Sri Lanka putting a lot of pressure on the Thailand defense and on the counter. But at the moment, Sri Lanka, they need to make sure, as I said earlier, they can't let Thailand grow too much back into the game. They were doing very well in the opening 10 minutes attacking wise, and if they can keep the pressure on the Maldivian defense, that could lead to some errors from their side as well. But that is the main thing that the Sri Lankan defense need to be aware of. They need to keep their shape and make sure they clear on the first chance they get. They can't afford any mistakes and gift Maldives with the chance or a second chance to take a crack at goal.
While for Maldives, they would have analysed the footage from the last two games that Sri Lanka played against Uzbekistan and Thailand. They would be much more prepared on how to break this tight and compact Sri Lankan defence. Just like that, you need those short passes to break this resolute Sri Lankan defence. And in fact, Francisco Moreiro would have given specific instructions to his men on that occasion. However, that effort from outside the box going over. Three players just warming up for Sri Lanka. Shabir Razunia, who did play the last two games, and they have Shanal Sandesh, the ever exciting 20-year-old just out of school. He makes up with space for his lack of height, Shanal Sandesh, and also there was Sasang Dilhara, again dropped from the starting 11.
Shanal Sandesh yet to make his international debut. Today might be a golden opportunity for him to try and make a name for himself if he gets to come on. As you said, doesn't have the best of height for a forward, but as you rightly said, he makes up, more than makes up for it in terms of pace and work ethic.
And even his finishing, isn't it? And if he does come on, it will be a very historic day for their school as well, St. Joseph's College, because they are Sri Lanka under 19 and captain. St. Joseph's captain Dunith Wellalage is making his debut for Sri Lanka today at Pallekele against Australia in the first ODI.
Maybe even more historic if he comes on and scores for Sri Lanka, but we can't foresee those things as Maldives once again.
But I do feel that he would make appearance at least in the second half, as Sri Lanka now have the ball. Fazal releasing Aqib on the right, hounded by two defenders. They clear it away. Akram Ghani defending well against the pacey Sri Lankan.
Aqib not really having the options to pass it on in time, and good bit of defending as Fazal doing well to win it back for Sri Lanka and passing it on to Dylan De Silva. Can Sri Lanka, and good 1-2 pass between Dylan and Nidarshan. Dylan now back to Nidarshan.
Was looking for options. And Akram Ghani once again doing his defensive work excellently, tracking the run of Nidarshan, and getting a goal kick. Very tight one. He needed to be perfect. Was showing with his hand that it took a deflection. Indeed it did.
But once again, good attacking display from Sri Lanka. Positive signs, but they need to start capitalizing on these opportunities, at least put a little bit of pressure on the Maldivian goalkeeper Mohammad Faisal. Take a few cracks at him, make him make a few saves. And on that opportunity, there was some good 1-2 play between Nidarshan and Dylan De Silva, but couldn't get into a position, as now Maldives and referee blowing for a Sri Lankan free kick. Ch.𝐀𝐅𝐂 𝐀𝐿𝐸 walking a little gingerly after that coming together. Slight clash of the heads there.
Captain for today, Charitha Ratnayaka, in the absence of Sujan Pereira. This is indeed a heavily worked back four for Sri Lanka, Rahul, with 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵, 𝐀𝐅𝐂 at centre back. Ball given away by Sri Lanka. Here's the Maldives, tries to chip it over the on-rushing 𝓠𝓫𝓪𝓵, but not hitting the target.
That's a golden opportunity for Maldives. A costly error almost. 𝓠𝓫𝓪𝓵's goal kick going straight to the Maldivian player.
This was the earlier free kick that Sri Lanka got, but that was Ibrahim Mahuri, who wasn't able to get the direction.
And he had Hamza Mohammed in the middle, who was begging for the pass that didn't come.
And that earlier footage, not good signs for Sri Lanka. 𝓠𝓫𝓪𝓵 down near the goal, signaling to his hamstring. This was the ball over Harsha Fernando.
Maybe he tweaked it slightly in that goal kick, or it might have happened there when trying to recover and make the save. But hopefully for Sri Lanka, he will be okay to continue. They don't have Sujan Pereira to bring on.
They do have 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 in goal, goalkeeper for Blue Eagles.
Veteran goalkeeper for club himself, but yet to really make a name on the international level, but won't get the opportunity. Teams 𝓠𝓫𝓪𝓵 okay to continue. And as you were saying earlier, the Sri Lankan back four, 𝓬𝓘𝓪𝓵, Chalna Chamira, 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 and Harsha Fernando all have started all three games, and with the games being so close, indeed you can imagine the level of fatigue, and it is good to see that they are still, even 3 games in, putting on a solid defensive display almost continuously, and a much improved defensive display compared to previous games. And that just goes to show how well they've been training stamina wise and how much they've improved compared to previous years. As now once again you see 𝓬𝓘𝓪𝓵 tussling with the Maldivian forward, and that's what 𝓬𝓘𝓪𝓵 brings into the Sri Lankan defense with his height and physicality. A solid player at the back, not easy to get past.
And especially when you have to defend throughout the 90 minutes. The games against Uzbekistan and Thailand, not easy when you have to be focused for all those 90 minutes and defend. Takes a lot out of your body and mind.
Good goal kick, but throw-in going to Maldives, much to the chagrin of Mohammad Fazal, and taken quickly.
From Maldives end, I think they've been keeping possession. They need to be, I think, a bit more patient, pass the ball around, look for options, and wait until the spaces and the gaps open for them.
But Sri Lanka meanwhile can't let Maldives get too comfortable on the ball. They need to keep putting the pressure, try to win the ball back quickly, and try to keep hold of possession themselves. Sri Lanka do seem a little more comfortable playing more of a defensive game, but if they allow Maldives to grow comfortable on the ball and grow into the game, that could be problematic later on, as Maldives now doing well with their short passes to keep hold of possession, not being wasteful. Some good quick passes as now into the box, and 𝓬𝓘𝓪𝓵 intervening to head it away for a throw-in.
And you could see just counted in that play they had 20 odd passes before that cross came in. Just like that, they need to be patient.
Exactly.
The opportunities will come about as they do have a corner.
Maldives have done well, making sure they don't put any wasteful passes, making sure they do well to keep hold of possession. As now the corner taken short yet again. A poor pass sees it go straight to Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka unable to do much with it, but winning a throw-in. The ball struck straight at the Maldivian player unintentionally by 𝐀𝐅𝐂 𝐀𝐬𝐢𝐚. I think he got the wind knocked out of him.
I think he did strike his unmentionables as Coach Francesco Moreiro having an animated discussion with his supporting staff. Mohammad Aqib stretching his calves and hamstring. He too has put in a big shift in the games against Uzbekistan and against Thailand. Especially against Thailand, we saw him running his heart out even in the last few minutes, putting the pressure on the Thailand defense.
That was brilliant to see in the last game by Mohammad Aqib in the 70th, 80th minute. Passed, as we see, back on his feet and seems okay to continue. Walk it off, as they say in the game of football.
Interim head coach for Sri Lanka, Mohammad Hassan Rumi, barking out instructions as he often does.
Long ball, Sri Lanka. Solid defending, not allowing the Sri Lankan player 𝐀𝐁 to get on the end of that pass, and ball back with Maldives now. Sri Lanka gone back to a much more defensive approach compared to the opening 10 minutes, where they had a few chances against the Maldivian defense. That has given Maldives the opportunity to keep hold of more of the brunt of the possession. As we approach the half-an-hour mark, poor pass allows Sri Lanka to intercept, and now Mohammad Fazal winning Sri Lanka free kick against Ghani, and just inside the Maldivian half.
I would have expected Fazal to play the last 30 minutes rather than start this match, where he would have been much more effective, as the cross comes in from 𝐀𝐁𝐅𝐿. Rather easy collection for Faisal.
Too powerful by 𝐀𝐁 on that occasion, straight to Mohammad Faisal, who came off his line and collected too easily. As you see, number 3, that's Ahmed Numan, down in some discomfort. Not sure if it was a clash, but already back to his feet.
Numan wearing a scrum cap. Let's see what happened there. Oh, it was a clash, kind of an knee to his back from his teammate Faisal. As both teams are taking a water break, and Aqib getting some attention to his hamstring as well, which he was stretching a bit out in the last couple of minutes. Half an hour gone in this match. Maldives 0, Sri Lanka 0. Maldives dominating in possession. Well, Sri Lanka have sat back and looked to counter-attack. They've had a couple of chances, but no shots on goal.
No shots on goal for either side almost. The Maldives had a few long-range efforts. Sri Lanka, they need to keep putting the pressure. Yes, currently Maldives are getting a little too comfortable on the ball. They can get hold of position and try to keep it. The Golden Army can try to put some of that pressure right back onto the red snappers, as now position given back to Maldives after that stop in the play for injury. And now Numan. Maldives going all the way back to their goalkeeper and the back line. Doing well, as now a long ball. Chamud Dilshan doing well to see it out for a goal kick.
Kavish Fernando haven't had much to do, unlike his skipper in the last couple of games. Was very much involved. Sujan Pereira making a bunch of saves, bunch of brilliant saves against Uzbekistan and Thailand. Here's Dylan.
That was a good goal kick to find Dylan De Silva, but Maldives solidly in defense and winning the ball back. Past the 30-minute mark. Scoreline still 0-0, as now a through ball. Maldives rushing their passing, as now Jesutasan won the ball back but gave it straight back to the Maldivians, as now the attempted pass intercepted and cleared away. But once again Sri Lanka poor in their attempt to keep hold of possession. Jesutasan won it back but gave it right back, and now Maldives once again on the attack.
Yes, Nidarshan who got hold of that ball. Fazal passing it to Dylan on the left, hounded by the defender. The ball goes out, taking away position back. And just talking about what you were saying earlier, Rahul, I think in defense, when you have a tight compact defense, it's good to defend and all, but when you get position, that's what happens. You don't have space or even the men to pass on to, because everyone is in close quarters.
Exactly, and we saw there on that occasion Dylan De Silva got hold of the ball but ran out of space. Maybe could have stopped his run. That's what Maldives have been doing well compared to Sri Lanka, because if they can't go forward with the ball, they pass it back to make sure they keep hold of position, whereas Sri Lanka keep trying to go forward no matter what. That is something that maybe if they try to hold on to possession rather than go forward no matter what, they could keep hold of position and put some pressure on Maldives, as now once again Maldives with their short passing.
Sifau. The ball back to Sifau. Sifau Yusuf. Mahodi.
Good interception by Jesutasan, and once again over the top, but no teammate in sight, and once again a wasted opportunity to keep hold of possession. And Maldives right back on the attack, and yet again intercepted well. 𝐀𝐁, he has been doing the interceptions almost brilliantly and flawlessly, but getting it off afterwards has not been as good. That's the 4th or 5th time now in this game he has intercepted the ball well, but been unable to distribute it to a teammate. As we see a late challenge, 𝐀𝐁 down in some discomfort. That was a very blatant late challenge. As we see a replay, the ball was nowhere and Ghani went in physically.
Taking one for the team, as they say, because Ghani knew he didn't have the pace to come in between the ball and 𝐀𝐁. The only thing he could do was give away that foul. But here's Mohammad Fazal.
Looks like the referee kept his cards in his pockets on that occasion. But free kick in a dangerous area. Mohammad Fazal.
Sri Lanka putting in the big men in Jayasudasan, Chamo Dilshan, Maridas Nidashan. Fazal puts the ball in, short ball, not the best of deliveries, cleared away. And Charita Ratnayaka just coming in between ball and the defender to clear it away. Sri Lanka have possession. Chalana Shamira. They still have the ball. Here's Fazal. Dylan. Through ball. He's offside. Mohammad 𝐀𝐁.
Just a second too late. Mohammad 𝐀𝐁 was making that run, and just the most marginal of offsides. If maybe that pass had come a second sooner, or he had held his run a second longer. As once again Sri Lanka doing well to win the ball back, but once again good defending by Maldives. But Sri Lanka have been doing well, putting a lot of pressure, but now it's Maldives at the other end putting some pressure of their own. As a cross finds a teammate. Sri Lankan defenders getting back into position. See, that's what Maldives do well. When they can't get the ball forward, they make sure they keep hold of position, but not doing so on that occasion. Chamo Dilshan winning it back and keeping his run forward, but Sri Lanka passing it short, making sure they keep hold of position. Chamo Dilshan now slowly making his way back. Dylan De Silva got a foot to it, but couldn't keep it in play. But more positive signs for Sri Lanka's attack, but they need to start capitalizing on these opportunities.
The game gradually opening up a bit as we come to the end of half time. Chamo Dilshan clears it away, out for a throw-in for Maldives.
Blocked once again by the Sri Lankan defense. I think if the scoreline remains 0-0 going into the half-time break, Sri Lanka will be the happy of the two, as the options to make the pass, you had Dylan De Silva making a good run on the left flank, but he wasn't to be seen and didn't get the pass. And in the end, Maldives once again making a break, but slowing it down, keeping hold of possession.
time and time again, Sri Lanka have been guilty of not making the correct decision whenever they get the ball. 𝐀𝐁. 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵. Fazal on the right, looking for options. It's back in, ball towards 𝓀𝓲. Dispossessed.
𝓀𝓲 unable to keep control of it. But Sri Lanka still in possession. Now 𝓕𝓲𝓷. Can they grab opening goal before the half-time break? Still in possession, taking their time are the Sri Lankans to get their pass away, and then after taking the time, the pass isn't the correct one. Straight to the Maldivian player. The Sri Lankan attack living vicariously as now Maldives on the edge of the Sri Lankan box, breaking in, getting past two defenders, getting past three, going down, but fairly deems the referee. That's a heavy pass out for a Sri Lankan throw-in.
Lankans going for that extravagant pass or the through ball rather than sticking to the basics and putting those simple passes in.
They can keep hold of position and get those short passes through. With the way they are attacking, they can put a lot of pressure on the Maldivian defense. That's Harsha Fernando taking his trademark throw-in.
Whether it's in attack or in defense, the only throw-in that Harsha Fernando does is those long throw-ins.
So once again, Maldives winning the ball back. Less than 3 minutes of the regulation, 45 minutes of the first half. Maldives long range effort, well wide of the target. Despite both teams doing well in attack, especially Sri Lanka, both goalkeepers have been left relatively unworked, not having too much to do, either of them, Mohammad Faisal or Kavish Fernando. That's what Sri Lanka need to try and change. They need to try and put Faisal under pressure, because they've been attacking, but they haven't been able to get into that final third and take a few shots on goal. That's now Sri Lanka once again on the ball. He has 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓫. Opts to go for Harsha Fernando. Harsha Fernando, his pass to 𝓕𝓲 intercepted. But now Fazal. 𝓀𝓲𝓷 back to Fazal. Back to Harsha. Harsha going for the long diagonal ball, but on that occasion 𝐀𝐁 not able to get on the end of it. Maybe could have tried to run a bit faster and get on the end of it, but in the end, back in possession is now Mohammad 𝐀𝐁, putting a through ball. 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓫. The cross, almost the Maldivian defense on that occasion making an error. That was Captain Ghani, and Faisal had to rush off his line to prevent 𝓀𝓲𝓷 from getting on the end of that. But the first time, for the first time, Mohammad Faisal called into action, and it looks like it will be a corner set piece opportunity, and Harsha Fernando going to take it. But more of that will be what the Golden Army fans are looking for. It will be a throw-in, and it will be a long throw-in. As we are approaching the final few seconds of the regulation time. Long throw-in straight to the goalkeeper Mohammad Faisal, and sent on its way quickly. And it looks like we'll have a minimum of 2 minutes added time to end the first half. 0-0. If either side can grab a late goal before the half-time break, that would change the whole complexion of their half-time team talk for both sides. As now Maldives making a run for it and then going back. Taking their time, making sure they get their passes right. As this time over the top, flag rightly goes up. Unable to hold his run on that occasion, Hamza Mohammed.
Just marginally offside. Tight call, but Sri Lankans wouldn't complain. 𝓠𝓪𝓵 Fernando taking his time, setting up the ball, making sure that this could well be the last play before half time.
Headed back by the Maldivian defender, and won by the forward as well. And now strong interception, but Sri Lanka unable to keep it. But that will be all for the first half. The scoreline: Maldives 0, Sri Lanka 0, and you would have to say Sri Lanka would be the much happier of the two going into the half-time break. Maybe they could have scored a goal, because they were on occasion brilliant attacking wise. They created a lot of chances, but they couldn't get into the final third, except late at the end, where Faisal had to scramble after an error from Ghani. But the end scoreline 0-0. An exciting second half coming our way for sure. Now,
Indeed, the Maldives have been the better side in terms of possession, but neither side been able to create any chances. Test the goalkeeper, Faisal for Maldives, 𝓠𝓪𝓵 Fernando, who is replacing Sujan for Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka at times have been guilty of going for that extravagant pass and giving away possession. They've been compact in defense, but the counter-attacks much to be desired. They need to improve on that, Sri Lanka. While for Maldives, some of the tactics have worked, because they need to think out of the box to unlock this tight Sri Lankan defense. The stingy, resolute Sri Lankan defense have somewhat frustrated the Maldivians, and the likes of Abdul Akram Ghani have been solid in defense, but as you said, that last minute or so, that last action, he had some indecision between his goalkeeper and him, almost costing them a goal, with Sebastian Pillay-Jesudhasan coming in between.
As you rightly said about the solid defense and the frustrating defense we saw in the last two games, despite Thailand and Uzbekistan winning, they were heavily frustrated by the fact that they couldn't score more goals. So that's all for the first half. Make sure you stay tuned to Football Sri Lanka TV. We'll be coming to you with live action of the second half soon.
Welcome back once again as we start the second half between Maldives and Sri Lanka in this AFC Asian Cup 2023 qualifiers, the third round. Both teams are goalless.
It'll be interesting to see what half-time team talks the two head coaches had and how it affects the performance early on. Yes, early goal kick for Sri Lanka. Things were there to be improved from both teams going to that half-time break, and we'll see what tactics and strategies they've come up with to combat. As we see Sri Lankan coaches making Andy Morrison on that occasion from the touchline, shouting out instructions. Throw-in taken quickly for Maldives. Doesn't seem to have been any half-time substitutions. Mohammad Fazal still leading the line for Sri Lanka. Maldives playing the short game pass, keeping hold of possession well. Maldives looking to put a cross in, unable to find a teammate, and now 𝐀𝐬𝐢𝐚𝐧 needs to clear it quickly. Hesitates, takes his time, but in the end, positive result out for a Sri Lankan throw-in. 𝐀𝐁𝐼𝐻 taking the throw-in on that occasion, but straight to Maldives now. Maldives over the top chip ball, but easy pickings for Kavish Fernando. Hasn't been called into action all too much. This ball booted downfield. 𝐀𝐁𝐼𝐻 keep it in possession, putting a through ball. Still in position is Sri Lanka. Mohammad Aqib now puts in a cross. Not to be on that occasion for the Golden Army. But the first signs of attack for Sri Lanka in the second half. They need to keep the pressure on, but it's now Maldives looking to break into the Sri Lankan box and put an attack of their own. Sliding challenge, and we see the first card of the game going to skipper 𝐀𝐁𝐼𝐻. A bit late in the challenge, and he went in from behind, and the referee right in the view of it. I beg your pardon, didn't go in from behind, it was right in front, but the referee's view of it was that he missed the ball completely. Maybe a little harsh, but referee's call final, and a free kick in a dangerous area for Maldives now. And that was the first yellow card of the game. Took all but 49 to 50 minutes for the referee to pull his card out of the pocket. But a free kick in a dangerous position.
I think the Sri Lankan captains are making a habit of getting yellow cards in these games. In game 1 and game 2, captain Sujan Perera got a yellow card, and in this third game, 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 and keeping up with the tradition and getting one for himself.
Speaking of Sujan Perera, the man called in to be his substitute today could be called into action. 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵. Sujan Perera had to make numerous saves from free kicks of this range. What can 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 do against
Hamza Mohammed? The direction was good, the intention was good, but not the accuracy. Going a tad bit over the crossbar. Hamza Mohammed.
sigh of relief for 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵. But as you were saying, yellow cards for the Sri Lankan skippers in all 3 games, this time not being accused of time wasting though, as Sujan Perera in both games, especially in the second one, maybe a little controversially was booked for time wasting. But as we now approach the hour mark, Maldives going back to their back line. Sri Lanka playing a little higher and winning the ball back. Now they need to keep hold of possession, and they put over the top ball, and that is not how you keep hold of possession. A wavered pass out for a Maldivian throw-in. Sri Lanka need to, it's important they keep hold of possession, maybe play a few short passes, get the ball forward slowly rather than just passing it long for the sake of it. Now 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 coming well off his line to gather the ball.
Maldives too are missing one of their influential players in their number 7, Ali Fazir. Out, I think he's injured, I believe. He's one of the top scorers, if not the top scorer in this Maldives squad, with 11 to his name. Both teams without 2 key influential players for this game. No substitutions yet, as Sri Lanka once again gives away a free kick. Asikur Rahman making a foul on Hamza Mohammed. They take it quickly. Hamza Mohammed puts the ball on the left for Hisham Hassan to run onto. Ball goes out.
Deemed a corner by the referee. Taken short, taken quickly. And a poor pass. See Sri Lanka win it back, but booted downfield into no man's land for Sri Lanka. Once again, not keeping hold of possession, just throwing possession right back to Maldives. Not the tactic that should really be used, especially when it's 0-0 and they have been putting pressure on the Maldivian defense. Well, they need to keep at it, as heavy collision. And the Sri Lankan defender Harsha Fernando, I believe, has stayed down. That's Ahmed Numan playing high up there, and just one of those clashes you get in a football game, as we see a substitution for Maldives.
Hassan is taken off, and in his place comes Ibrahim We are back once again. Apologies as we are having technical difficulties from the feed that we are getting from Uzbekistan.
Sri Lankan defense still standing strong, allowing Fernando to come off his line and collect. Fernando, his kick, a challenge and free kick going to Sri Lanka. You can see Hassan Rumi questioning when the yellow cards are going to start coming out for the other side.
The last time these two sides met, by the 58th minute, we've had 4 goals. Maldives scoring 4 goals against Sri Lanka.
And who would have known at that point that there was 4 more goals to come from the other end.
Here's Chalana Shamir once again, a poor delivery. But they do get a free kick, Sri Lanka. Must have been a handball.
Numan looks to be the culprit. Card staying in the pockets yet again. But as we take a look at the replay, Chalana Chamira's ball into the box.
There was a flailing hand. Don't know whether it took a deflection of Numan. The referee has deemed it so, and Sri Lanka get a free kick just outside the box in an enticing area.
Interesting to see who steps in. They have a good few free kick takers, couple of them on the bench unfortunately. But they also have people on the field, the likes of Fazal.
But I think it will be Fazal who will take this, even though there are quite a few. Because in this range you need to get the ball up and over and also down. Up and over the wall and down into the goal as well. Very difficult. Let's see what a lot of people.
They shouldn't let this get too complicated. Fazal changing sides.
It's Fazal who takes it. Brilliantly done. But brilliant all-round play from Faisal as well. It's Mohammad Fazal, I believe, who took that. From the outside of his boot. Yes, indeed. That's what this man can do.
I think
if he had gone a bit more to the side with his effort, it would have been a wonderful goal.
I think when he switched sides, he caught the whole defense off guard. He caught me off guard. I thought he changed sides, so he wasn't going to take it. As on that occasion, the volley well wide by Dylan De Silva, but what a free kick that was by Mohammad Fazal. He switched sides at the last moment to throw a few of the Maldivian players off guard, and he took it with the outside of his foot and it curled and it had the goalkeeper Faisal flailing. But a great attempt, and Sri Lanka coming so close to getting that opener, but not to be on that occasion. Faisal had to be quick, he had to stay strong, and he managed to get a hand to it. But Sri Lanka need to ride that momentum, as now Maldives looking to kill off any momentum inside the Sri Lankan box.
Here's the substitute, Wahid Hassan, giving away position back. Regarding that earlier free kick, Rahul, that's what Fazal, the playmaker for Sri Lanka, brings to the table. Thinking outside the box.
Absolutely, that was absolutely brilliant. Great thinking. And as you rightly said, that's what a player of Fazal's caliber and experience brings to the table. And that's why he started today, as now Maldives once again breaking a 1-on-2 situation almost, and that is the opening goal against the run of play almost. It's number 10,
Hamza Mohammed, who gives Maldives the lead. The defense breaking away on that occasion quite quickly. It was a Sri Lankan throw-in. They didn't capitalize on it properly. The defense not organized, as Maldives just past the hour mark takes the lead. After they thought they had gone 1-0 down, they are 1-0 up against Sri Lanka, against their South Asian rivals. Hamza Mohammed giving Maldives the lead, 1-0.
Sri Lanka, as you rightly said, almost grabbed the opener at the other end, but Maldives quick to try and kill off that momentum. Came back and threw Hamza Mohammed. Hamza Mohammed from a very tight angle. Maybe 𝐀𝐬𝐢𝐵 𝐀𝐻 could have reacted a little better, but it's never easy for a goalkeeper when the ball goes right through your legs. And in the end, 𝐀𝐬𝐢𝐵 𝐀𝐻 called into action, and it's Maldives 1, Sri Lanka 0. But as we mentioned earlier, the last time these two teams met, Sri Lanka scored 4 goals from this point onwards. So at least 1 goal is not out of the question for the Golden Army. 63rd minute. It's never over until it's over. And with these two sides, we've seen much stranger things than just a 1-goal equalizer before. But Maldives looking to add a second. And on that occasion, 𝐀𝐬𝐻 𝐀𝐻 up for the task. And off his line, he dived backwards almost and got a hand to it. A crucial save to keep Sri Lanka within a fighting chance. Sri Lanka need to try and put the pressure back on Maldives. They need to. They can't let the pressure get to them. They can't let Maldives keep attacking. As now, once again, Maldives chasing a second goal, but in the end, free kick to Sri Lanka, and it looks like we had a substitution. Mohammad Fazal coming off, and in his place, Jabir Razunia entering the battlefield. Attacking change for the Golden Army. Mohammad Fazal was playing up front, and now it looks like it will be a direct replacement with Jabir Razunia. Still more attacking options for Sri Lanka to bring on potentially.
Now the game will open up a bit with Sri Lanka down 1-0. The team who has been looking to go on the counter. Asikur Rahman losing possession. Maldives will now look to control this game. Maybe slow down a bit. but they wouldn't want to make that mistake they did against Sri Lanka the last time they played.
And that is something that Sri Lankans will need to remember. They did it before, surely they can do it again. But to do that, they need to get the ball and keep hold of possession just like this. Yes, the Golden Army winning the ball back, but taking a lot of time to make a pass. But in possession now, putting over the top ball. And the defender almost putting a header into his own net. But that was number 2, Samu Ali. In his defensive attempts, almost beating his own goalkeeper. But a corner set piece opportunity almost out of nowhere for Sri Lanka. Can they get a good curling ball into the box? The tall figures of 𝐀𝐅𝐂 𝐀𝐬𝐢𝐚𝐧 available.
Good delivery in Sri Lanka. They still have the ball. Is 𝓕𝓷 𝓷𝓵 is fouled and Sri Lanka gets a penalty inside the box. The trickery of 𝓕𝓷 𝓷𝓵 earning Sri Lanka an opportunity to equalize.
And that is what the youngster 𝓕𝓷 𝓷𝓵 brings to the table. We saw it the last time Maldives and Sri Lanka met. It was 𝓕𝓷 𝓷𝓵 who unraveled the Maldivian defense. And yet again, it's that man. He got past 1, he got past 2, and he had to be brought down. Unjustly so, deems the referee, and rightly so. Samu Ali, the villain on that occasion. And now with a chance to equalize the game. And it looks like it will be 𝓕𝓷 𝓷𝓵 himself. Maybe, maybe not.
𝓕𝓷 𝓷𝓵 stepping up. I think both those Maldivian players did foul him, as 𝓕𝓷 𝓷𝓵 steps up for Sri Lanka against Maldives, and it's saved by Faisal. And on the rebound, Markaziy Nidarshan's effort goes away. Rather poor attempt. Not much to do for Faisal, but he dived the correct way. Almost straight at the goalkeeper. 𝓕𝓷 𝓷𝓵 would be mightily disappointed with that. A player of his caliber certainly should have done better.
That was a golden opportunity for the Golden Army. 𝓕𝓷 𝓷𝓵 did the hard work to win the penalty, but it has to be said, a very poor penalty at the end of it. Almost straight down the middle. All Mohammad Faisal had to do was fall to the ground and save it. Should have picked a side, but in the end, scoreline remains Maldives 1, Sri Lanka 0, and the chance to equalize gone begging. But still, plenty of time. They shouldn't let their heads drop. They should keep at it, and the chance might come. If you see a foul going Maldives' way.
A clear foul by Harsha Fernando. Referee having a stern word with Fernando. Referee Ali Reda from Lebanon. I was saying, Rahul, after that goal from Maldives, the game will open up. Certainly it has. With both teams now looking to attack. And Maldives knows they need to be careful. Appeals for handball as well, as Chalana Chamira making a hash of the clearance.
Somehow keeping it away from the Maldivian players. It's now Sri Lanka once again. 𝓕𝓷 𝓷𝓵 goes down and wins a free kick for Sri Lanka. Abdul Ghani fouling 𝓷𝓷 on that occasion.
𝓕𝓷 𝓷𝓵 has been taken off the field between the 60th and the 70th minute in both the games against Uzbekistan and Thailand. He's still continuing.
He was a key player in that Maldivian fixture in the Four Nations Trophy. Maybe get another attacker on to give him some support up front. They did bring on 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵, but maybe the young pace of Shenal Sandesh could also help unlock the Maldivian defense, as now 𝐀𝐅𝐂 finding Mohammad Aqib on the wing. Aqib twisting and turning and winning a throw-in high up the field. Sri Lanka and 𝓕𝓷𝓷𝓲𝓮𝓻 can't let their heads drop from the penalty miss. That was a golden opportunity that went begging, but there will be plenty more opportunities if they can grab it. And they just need to keep piling on the pressure on the red snappers. Do the Golden Army, and it will be a long throw-in by Harsha Fernando. But the ball now. Faisal kicking the ball downfield, intercepted, but won back by Maldives quickly, and now Maldives on the attack. A player goes down off the ball, but Kavish Lakpriya came off his line, missed it completely. But 𝐀𝐅𝐂 now putting a through ball. Mohammad Aqib or 𝓕𝓷𝓷𝓲𝓻 on that occasion, tussling. Ball back with the Golden Army. And a wasted through ball all the way out for a goal kick, but a booter to no man's land. Really should have passed it short and kept hold of possession when they're trailing.
That was 𝐀𝐅𝐂. This was the earlier incident. Everybody missing that ball, including 𝐀𝐅𝐂, Kavish Fernando. The Maldivian player. Couldn't get who that was, but 𝐀𝐅𝐂 certainly having a off day for Sri Lanka.
The goal scorer himself, Hamza Mohammed, I think he was expecting Kavish Fernando to get a hand to it, and therefore wasn't expecting the ball when it came past him, and couldn't react in time, fortunately for the Golden Army. As now Sri Lanka once again in possession. 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 getting past his man. He has support. The cross intercepted, but ball still with Sri Lanka, and a wasted opportunity.
I think Sri Lanka would do well to bringing the likes of Shenal Sandesh, the enterprising forward. They are getting a much needed break, a 1 minute water break, as Maldives are making a substitution as well, with Hassan Shifaz coming on to replace Hisham Hassan for Maldives. An opportunity for Maldives to regroup and see how to see off this last 15 minutes, and for Sri Lanka to find that equalizer and possibly a winner.
Sri Lanka need to keep the pressure on. They need to keep piling the pressure on the Maldivian defense, but they can't be wasteful in possession like they have been on numerous occasions. They need to keep hold of the ball. They need to pass it short without just passing it downfield when there is no one. As we take a look at the replay of how the penalty came about, Samu Ali taking down 𝓕𝓷𝓷𝓲𝓻, and 𝓕𝓷𝓷𝓲𝓻 a golden opportunity. Not a moment he knows he should have done better. He knows he could do better. A player of his caliber and a player of his talent made it far too easy for Mohammad Faisal, and Mohammad Faisal keeping his team in the lead. But it's not over until it's over, and Sri Lanka still have plenty of time, and they need to keep at it, need to keep the pressure on. They did it last time. There is no reason they can't do it again. As you see the substitute Hassan Shifaz on the field. Sri Lanka only having made one substitute so far. That was Shabir Razunia coming on to replace Mohammad Fazal. And now Sri Lanka, 𝐀𝐅𝐂 winning the ball back, and 𝐀𝐅𝐂 getting a foot to it but unable to keep it within the field of play. And out for a Maldivian throw-in. Pumpa sees the ball back with Sri Lanka now. Dylan De Silva on the turn, goes for the shot, and just wide of the target on that occasion. He had the goalkeeper scrambling for it. For a moment, I think everyone thought that had beaten the goalkeeper and crept in. Let's take a look at the replay. He turned to get past Abdul Ghani, and then he shot just wide of the upright.
Missed by inches, isn't it? Agony for Dylan De Silva and Sri Lanka.
But he needs to keep at it. He needs to continue. They can't let their heads drop. They need to keep taking those chances, as now Maldives, and a crucial block by the defender sees it out for a corner.
That was Ibrahim Mahoudi. He should have been better off shooting straight at the goal rather than going to put in that pass, that cutback in search of his man. They take it short. Maldives. Cross comes in. Header straight at Kavish Fernando. Sri Lanka living dangerously.
Good catch by Kavish Fernando. If you take a look at the replay, a good cross in and a header straight at Kavish Fernando. He had an easy job. He didn't have to move, but he did well to keep hold of the ball, not letting it spill. And now the ball back with the Maldivian backline. We're approaching the final 10 minutes. Still no more substitutes from the Golden Army. Maybe get a few fresh legs on attacking wise. As now Maldives once again threatening the Sri Lankan defense. Mohammad Aqib going all the way back to do some good defensive duty, but ball poorly given away by the Sri Lankan midfield. I beg your pardon, 𝐀𝐅𝐂 on that occasion. That's what they need to improve on. They need to keep hold of possession, because they could be putting so much pressure on the Maldivian defense if they get their passing right and keep hold of possession. But a throw in now to Sri Lanka. 𝐀𝐅𝐂 to take it. Straight out for another throw in. Maldives now once again. Almost a 2-on-4 situation. Maldives. Good pressure by the Sri Lankan defense, not allowing the player to get a easy shot off, and the referee blowing the whistle, a Maldivian player down. It's number 21 for Maldives.
That's the substitute, Ibrahim Wahid Hassan. Not easy going up against the big man Shamo Dilshan. Into the last 10 minutes of this game. Maldives leading 1-0 courtesy of a brilliant goal from Hamza Mohammed. For Sri Lanka, a few minutes later, Dylan De Silva earned himself and the country a penalty, but his execution was poor. I think now it's the time for the Sri Lankans to complain about time wasting. 𝐀𝐁𝐿𝐷 and 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 having a chat with the referee 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪 from Lebanon.
Absolutely, they'll be asking why they kept getting accused and booked for time wasting, whereas nothing is happening here. But as you said, Sri Lanka will be feeling very hard done by. They defended their hearts out throughout the game, and that Maldivian goal almost out of nowhere. One mistake too many almost, and the goal coming after a lot of good defensive displays by the Sri Lankan backline.
Credit to Maldives for sticking to their tasks as well, because that was somewhat against the run of play. Sri Lanka did have a couple of opportunities before that. They kept at it, Maldives. They see themselves up 1-0.
Faisal making sure it remained 1-0 after saving that penalty. In the 82nd minute, still no signs of any substitutes coming on for Sri Lanka.
Nothing happening in this, as you said, the Sri Lankan bench as well. They need some inspiration. They need some energy infused into this game. As you said, Rahul, they've only made one substitution, and I think all these players have played the whole of 90 minutes in both those games against Uzbekistan and Thailand. So they need some fresh legs. You need some pace up front. The likes of Shanal Sandesh would be good for them, as Sri Lanka, I think, are readying a substitution. From what I saw, it was Aman Faizer.
Aman Faizer, mainly a midfield player, but he has played as an attacker during his school career. But interesting to see who he came on for. Just waiting for confirmation on that. We'll get that information on for you so shortly, but it's Aman Faizer who comes on for now. Not the most attacking of substitutions, as we see confirmation Aman Faizer. And 𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 coming off in his place. Aman Faizer, I think, will be playing very. As you see, he's playing there. Good ball into the box, Aman Faizer. But Aman Faizer, he is good with his passing, and he has shown for school and club that he can be a very important player for whatever team he plays in. As they're intercepted, but good work by 𝐀𝐁𝐿𝐷 and the Sri Lankan defense to win the ball back, but they can't keep hold of it yet again, as Maldives quickly putting out that bit of attacking display and winning the ball back. Maldives now, we're approaching the final 5 minutes of the regulation 90 minutes. Maldives getting past the defender very well, and a sliding challenge by skipper Chaitra Ratnayaka. The crucial intervention to prevent a one-on-one situation, as now once again acrobatic effort attempted, and referee awarding a free kick to Sri Lanka. And you can see some unnecessary coming together. 𝐀𝐁𝐿𝐷, not a player to shy away from any type of confrontation. As you take a look at it, the replay, acrobatic effort attempted. As you See the goalkeeper grabbing the ball and going down. Mohammad Faisal, not quick to release it. Mohammad Aqib. Can Sri Lanka, they're running out of time. Dylan De Silva, touch too heavy. And now Maldives capitalizing. Looking to put an attack of their own. Sri Lanka running out of time here at Namangan. If I'm not mistaken now, if Sri Lanka can grab an equalizer, they would, and the game ends in a draw, they would finish in third place ahead of Maldives on goal difference. And that would be a monumental result, really, considering the high caliber of the other two teams in the group. Sri Lanka not making the right passes, it would seem, having plenty of teammates in the open but not going for the correct pass. And in the end, wasteful, and Maldives back in possession. Sri Lanka need to do better. They need to capitalize on these opportunities. They need to keep hold of possession. Approaching the final 2 minutes of the regulation 90. Maldives will be more than happy to keep hold of possession and pass it around. Sri Lanka. Final 2 minutes. Breaking towards the Maldivian box. The player pushed. And a free kick to Sri Lanka in a somewhat dangerous position. Maybe a little too far out to go straight for goal, but if they can get a good ball into the box and find a teammate. Let's take a look at the replay. Samu Ali, once again the villain for Maldives. A good free kick could mean everything here for the Golden Army. You have Chalna Chamira and Asikur Rahman standing over it. It's basically bang straight on. Maybe pass it on. I don't think they'll be looking to go straight for goal. It's too far out for players of their caliber.
Closing in on 90 minutes. The time ticking away fast from Sri Lanka. What can they do? Chalana Chamira or Asikur Rahman? It's Chalana Chamira who has taken this, and well, it has gone well over the crossbar.
Not what you want to see if you're a Golden Army fan. As we approach added time here in the second half, it's about time for Sri Lanka to throw the kitchen sink at it, as another free kick for Sri Lanka high up the field, and this time the card coming out of its pocket. A yellow card for Maldives for Isam on that occasion against Mohammad Aqib. Grabbing Aqib with both hands, not wanting to let him go. Minimum 4 minutes of added time in this second half. Plenty of time for at least one goal in the game of football. Faisal putting his ball exactly where he wants it. And once again, it will be 𝓠𝓾𝓪𝓵, and this time 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 standing over the ball. Sri Lanka running out of time. 1 minute gone in the minimum 4 minutes of added time. Ball into the box and cleared away. Sri Lanka unable to get to it. Throw in taken quickly. Back to Harsha Fernando. I think Sri Lanka are not going to be making any more substitutes as the ball goes out. Kept in by the Maldivian defender and now booted downfield, and it will be a throw in to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka need to hurry up, running out of time. 𝓠𝓾𝓪𝓵. Possession back with Sri Lanka. Ball into the box. And 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 under heavy pressure from the defender, unable to get a good shot away. And easy pickings for Mohammad Faisal. Maybe should have tried to do a little better there. He didn't have support in the box to pass it on. And Indian ball back with Maldives. Just 1.5 minutes left in the minimum 4 minutes of added time. Sri Lanka need to throw everything at it now. Sri Lanka have played very well, and they just need to do that last bit of attacking, as Maldives making a double substitution with less than 1 minute left in added time.
Cheeky bit of tactical play from Francesco Moreiro for Maldives. Eating up a bit more time.
The throw-in taker switching, opting to go for the long throw-in of Harsha Fernando.
This could well be the last play of the game. That could well be it. Faisal,
maybe
the goal kick.
Few additional seconds added on for the double substitution at the end, as referee puts the whistle to the mouth. And indeed, that is it at Namangan. Maldives 1, Sri Lanka 0. And Sri Lanka, they could have had so much more. They played their hearts out. A few errors here and there. They couldn't keep hold of possession. But in the end, they'll feel hard done by a 1-0 result. Maybe the neutral fan would say a draw was more of a representative result for the game, but football, it's a matter of margins, and Maldives were able to convert their opportunity where Sri Lanka failed, and in the end Maldives coming away with the victory and finishing in third place in Group C of the third round of this AFC Asian Cup qualifiers.
Maldives 1, Sri Lanka 0. As Maldives continue their unbeaten streak against Sri Lanka. 11 games, 7 wins, 4 draws against their South Asian rivals. Their last meeting produced 8 goals, but today just 1. And the one that mattered came from Hamza Mohammed against the run of play in the second half. Soon after that goal came, Sri Lanka did get a penalty, but a poor penalty from 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵, and a great save, good one from Mohammad Faisal, keeping that lead intact for Maldives. As we look at the highlights, Sri Lanka white, the Maldives in their traditional red. Coming into the game, Sri Lanka did make several substitutions, 3 in fact. Sujan Perera out with a suspension. In its place, the captain was 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵. The other substitutions were 𝓠𝓫 Fernando, who came in to replace Sujan. Shabir Razunia and Sasanga Dilhar was out. In their place came Mohammad Faisal and Maridas Nidarshan. It was a rather cagey affair in the first half, with both sides not threatening the goal, not testing the keepers as well. Abdul Ghani for Maldives, the Maldives keeper, was solid in defence.
Sri Lanka did very well. They had a lot of possession inside the Maldivian half and in and around the Maldives box, as we see that brilliant free kick by Mohammad Faisal early in the second half. Switched sides and with the outside of his foot curled it in, and it called for a strong save by Mohammad Faisal.
A yard to the right, a yard or two to the right would have been the opener for Sri Lanka, but it was not to be, as a couple of minutes later the Sri Lankan defence crumbling as Hamza Mohammed put one past 𝓠𝓫 Fernando. The Sri Lankan skipper 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 was also guilty on that occasion, not keeping his balance, and allowing Hamza to cut back in and put that ball in between 𝓠𝓫 Fernando.
Absolutely, from one end to the other, and then for the next few minutes it was as if Maldives were intent on scoring another. As you see another look at that goal, almost right between the legs of 𝓠𝓫 Fernando, and against the run of play, Maldives opening the score, breaking the deadlock.
Soon after, they did have that opportunity as well, with the momentum carrying. Needed a brilliant save from 𝓠𝓫 Fernando. And even though they scored one past 𝓠𝓫, I think he did have a rather solid game. As you can see, Dylan earning that penalty. Samoa Ali following him inside the box.
Golden opportunity for the young 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵, and you have to give him credit. He stepped up with the weight of a nation on his shoulders, and in the end, unfortunately, couldn't do his task and failed to get it past Mohammad Faisal. And Faisal stood strong and was the winner between that one-on-one battle.
To his credit, Faisal did dive the correct way as well. If he did dive the other way, even though it was a poor one, it would still have been a goal.
𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 picked aside and couldn't get it far, but in the end Faisal won that battle, and the scoreline remained 1-0 to Maldives. And then 𝓕𝓲𝓷𝓪𝓵 on the turn struck another shot which went just inches wide of the post, and that wasn't to be as well. Sri Lanka kept trying to put the pressure on, but they kept being a little too wasteful with their passes and with possession, giving away the ball far too cheaply on many occasions, as we see that late opportunity. Shabir Razunia under heavy pressure, unable to get a proper shot off, and that was full time. The Italian coach very happy. 1-0, and Hassan Rumi will feel hard done by, but that will be all for us here from Football Sri Lanka TV. Make sure you stay subscribed for many more exciting things coming your way from myself, Rahul Madhuravey, and Nawod Vijay Vikrama. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, thank you.